You're listening to LiveWild Radio, the part-time adventure podcast.
Join us as we explore how outdoor adventures build mind, body, and spirit.
Well, the year is 2021, and the shitty part is that with the change of the calendar, nothing's really changed. So Winston and Catherine are here, LiveWild Radio. This episode we're calling The Why Part 2 because our very first episode was called The Why. And we think it's really important to kind of figure out your why in anything. Because, and I don't remember who said it, but somebody smart said, if you know your why, the how will figure itself out. So, Catherine, why are we doing this?
I'm going to comment to that first.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Meaning, right? You got to have some kind of meaning in life. That's usually your equation to happiness. Sometimes people chase it many different ways, but I think it has a lot to do with meaning.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we're doing it because I love talking to passionate people, doing interesting things, pushing their limits and growing. I've learned this year that my number one value and what I value the most is growth. So it makes a lot of sense to me now why I enjoy those conversations.
Well, and that sort of sums up really well because I don't know if we're actually going to pivot in the content that much. But right now we're calling ourselves the Part-Time Adventure Podcast. And we're going to turn just a little bit and make it a little bit more about, personal growth, self-improvement, and all the fun adventures and talking to super cool people. Often
through adventures, or adventures are always associated with it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where growth happens.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about cool shit that we think is cool. And actually this year has been a bit of a segue into that already.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about what is an adventure, right? Like if you read like the classic sagas, right? It's always a journey. And that journey is always a metaphor for like learning and discovering. And so really, if you think about like the metaphor that adventures are, it's going on a journey. We don't know where we're going, right? And obviously you might have a destination in mind, but it's kind of the getting there part of it.
Yeah.
And the person that gets to the destination is a different person than who started, right? Because the journey acts on you. And that I find to be kind of one of the fascinating things about, the activities we do. And obviously not every time you go out on a mountain bike ride or go rock climbing.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a transformative experience? Sometimes it's just fun. But this is kind of part of the palette that we use to paint with.
Mm-hmm. But it's also the idea of just, most people listening to this are adults working 9 to 5 or whatever shift work or hours they do. And, adventure often allows you to be like a kid again, just get away from the everyday life. And so anyways, I think it's the problem solving, it's the exploring, it's the try something new and get into this new hobby. Mm-hmm. So we like the ones that are outdoor related. I don't think, aside from the Earthship, which, is building a home, and we did that with Matt Code and Collingwood Earthship. That's the name of his ship. But most of it's outdoors because we like the outdoors.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the biggest things with that is that not outdoors is too comfortable. We know it, right? It's trying to expand our circle of what we know, right? Like, so if you think when you're a little kid, what you know is a very small circle, right? Like everything you know is within the circle. So what you're aware that you don't know is very small as well, right? And then the more you know, the more experiences you have, the bigger the circle becomes, like, of, the known, if you want to call it, but the bigger amount of things outside the border, right? And then it almost becomes addictive because you want to keep exploring, keep learning, keep having new experiences, because it's through kind of a balance of mastery of the known, right? Like consciously working to be better at the things you already know how to do, and then experiencing new things that kind of you add to your story in a sense, that continue to propel you forward, and flavor who you are.
It's interesting because when I look back at this year, obviously COVID's challenged us a lot, both with this podcast and our own adventures. I mean, when they closed the borders, we had made a decision 2 days before that, in April, that I think it was late March, actually.
Yeah, that we canceled.
We decided to cancel our trip to Red Rocks.
And Yosemite.
Yeah.
And Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, my God. And we had 3 interviews, podcast, interviews lined up. Mm-hmm. Would have been really cool.
Yeah, because we were going to, interview Wonder Hussy, who, if you don't follow her YouTube channel...
You should.
Yeah. She just travels all over the Southwest, usually by herself, exploring ghost towns and hot springs.
She's quite a character.
Yeah, and we were supposed to do an episode with her in the Tacoma Hot Springs.
We were going to go on one of her adventures, probably get vlogged as well. That would have been fun.
Because almost all of her friends don't want to be on her, like her sister and friends don't want to be on her YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But we have no issues with that, so...
we were going to basically tell her story.
Yeah.
Because she's got an interesting one of how she's made this into a career. Just goes and explores. And then we were supposed to reconnect
with Cody Bradford.
Yeah. And that would have been a lot of fun because we would have been gone climbing with him. And then we would have, probably podcasted around a campfire. That was the plan. Mm-hmm. And then our friend Reg Smart was going to be...
wasn't our friend at the time, but we were going to meet him in Sedona.
Yeah.
Maybe go climbing or, whatever.
Yeah.
But because his trip to Sedona got canceled, just like our trip down there did, we eventually actually met up with him over the summer.
Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. But, and then beyond that, we had ideas to travel elsewhere on the eastern seaboard, basically other rock climbing destinations, and interviewing some other rock climbing personalities because they're just freaking cool. And not too many people know the stories behind certain locations, kind of like what we did for Ontario climbing.
Yeah, talking to Gus.
Yeah, about the history and the ethos and politics and just about that area, which is cool. But so that got kiboshed. And so then we started, we did connect with a couple people in person. In fact, Sarah Duma had just had COVID a month before. But we still got to connect with her about the El Camino, Patagonia, and Antarctica trips that she had done.
And somehow she's still out traveling again.
She's in Canada, though, in Ontario. Yeah. So she won't give it up.
Yeah.
And why, that's her thing, right? But we met up with a few others, but we stay at a distance because we have a 25-foot long cable. Yeah. And eventually we started doing Zoom calls. So our last one with Paul Gaines, who's a photojournalist for wildlife photography, is what he does now. More recently, he used to do sports journalism, covering the Olympics, etc., and some really interesting. And
then we've got a really cool one coming up after this episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're into rock climbing in Ontario, we have Ethan Salvo coming up, and the fact that he's arguably one of the strongest climbers in the province, if not the country,
bouldering.
And he's only 16, you can all hate him.
That and the fact that he went from newbie to what he's at now.
In 3 years.
Climbing V15. 14 in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a climber and you know what any of those things mean, he's a haunch. And it's a very interesting episode because you start to see, if people go, oh man, I'd like to be that good, listen to the episode and see what goes into being that good.
Yeah.
And then see if you still want it.
Yeah, you might have fingers of an 80-year-old.
Well, and also just the dogged determination.
Yeah.
You the biggest thing that I found, in talking to him was just the level of commitment, right? And so give a listen, it'll come out in a few weeks. But yeah, so we've had to adapt to things. Mm-hmm. We've done episodes about COVID this year.
Yeah.
Because what the fuck else are you? It's
how do you deal when you can't go on adventures? What the fuck? Like, what do you do?
And how do you stay in shape when the gyms are closed?
Absolutely. It's a big deal.
So there's all these adaptations. The people who adapt to change the best, I think, are the ones that are faring the best, right? Yep. And so, in a sense, the fact that we make kind of doing new things, new challenges, like that's just part of our makeup. Is when unexpected challenges come along, it turns out you have this unintended skill, right? Of being able to adapt.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you can figure out, okay, something went wrong, but we got out of the mountains alive. Or we were on this climb and things didn't go, but we got off it alive. Well, then when something just in daily life happens, you've developed a skill to adapt that you didn't consciously set out to build. But because I got to say, like, for the most part, and there's been like challenges and there's been troubling days or whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, we've actually had a really fun summer and fall.
You know what? We really have. I like to look at, challenges in any way possible from a positive experience. And, I've been working from home. It's offered me a lot of flexibility. I'm able to go biking at lunchtime when my kids were home in the summer. We live by a river. We went fishing. I taught them how to ride their bikes without their trainers. Big deal, because I usually don't have the time. And that takes a lot more time than I ever expected it to. To the end of the summer, they were mountain biking and coming down hills I wouldn't even attempt when I first started mountain biking.
Which, for Catherine, was this year.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mountain biking for me, because we couldn't get into the gyms, was the next thing to do, because I had gotten back on my hybrid and I realized, I really like this. And then you wanted to get a mountain bike. I had just broken my arm, my elbow. That sucked from biking. And not mountain biking, but just on a path. It's really quite embarrassing. So 2 months later, I got on a mountain bike, which actually was really good, I think, for my rehabilitation. Because it was really super stiff before that. But I love it. I actually think I love it. I don't feel as fearful towards mountain biking as I do for rock climbing outdoors. Because I'm not used to it. We don't go that often, right? And so it takes, there's always that, I don't know, it's a little bit of uneasiness that's always there. It's getting better. And for people who haven't heard this before, I've had a slight fear of heights, in the past. So it might be a part of that.
Well, I think the thing with climbing, though, too, is that, not to say that you can't wipe out on your mountain bike, but climbing has very real dangerous consequences if you screw up on your safety, you take risks,
Yeah.
Right? So, not to say, like, obviously, just riding on a easy park path, you fell over and broke your elbow.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't hurt yourself on your bicycle, but climbing, the sense of danger feels much more immediate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is one of the challenges to overcome when you're doing it.
Yeah, but it didn't take me long to get over it. I know that people talk about that there's that fear of getting back on your bike. And I had a bit of that going fast down rural highways or, country roads when I was road riding. But certainly you don't want to hit a tree if you're mountain biking. So yeah, I was a little nervous, but you know what? It makes you feel like a kid. Super exciting. Great exercise. Better than I think road cycling, because I'll do it for longer. We were going for a couple hours at a time.
Yeah.
Great cardio workout for me. And Yeah, we got to travel, especially at this time of the, with COVID lockdown, not being able to travel over the border. We usually go to the Adirondacks or our Vegas trip or elsewhere. We were able to go to northern parts of Ontario and Quebec and go mountain biking. We were in Collingwood, Wasaga, some of the forest trails there, or even locally in Cambridge and Waterloo.
With the Hydrocat and Puss Lynch.
Yeah. No, that's been really great. And Puss Lynch is just down the road. And it was really great working from home. At times, if you were off that day, we'd go biking together and I'd go back home and go back to work. And it was just awesome.
Yeah. So I think the thing for us has been that there was that initial, like, we had a lockdown that was 2 months long here in Ontario.
Yeah.
And Catherine worked from home. I was non-essential.
Yeah.
And so you had to develop new habits, right?
What did you do for the 2 months?
I built my little home gym. So every day I would go on a weighted hike and strength train. And then it's funny because when I got back to work, because actually during quarantine, I got in great shape because I was training a lot of days, twice a day. But I was able to rest properly from it and all that kind of thing. But then when I went back to work, because I work at an outdoor store, I wasn't used to being on my feet 9 hours a day. So a lot of my training gains went out the window because I was just like my feet killed and my back hurt. And it took actually 4 to 6 weeks to reacclimatize my body to being on my feet, for all that time. And, walking, basically, 18 to 20,000 steps a day on a concrete floor. So it was kind of an interesting thing and then the climbing gym reopened. And then, so we got sort of climbing fitness back, sort of building up again.
Yeah.
And then the climbing gym, we're in lockdown 2.0 in Ontario.
We are. It's been about 3 weeks now.
That it's been locked down?
Yeah.
No.
How long? 2 weeks? Actually, it was just around Christmas.
Yeah, it was Christmas.
So about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Wow, it feels like it's been longer. But you know what? When the climbing gym reopened, it took me a while to go back. And then once I did, I quickly realized how important it was for our mental health and that of my kids. Maybe just because I can only handle them for so long. But really, they really needed to exercise like that because climbing's so fabulous for it. And I was quite amazed at how, the kids hadn't climbed outdoors for about a year. And when we were in Gatineau, Quebec, we climbed, they did their first 85 or 80 footer and they did it with ease, more or less. Hudson totally. And then Amanda was nervous, but she accomplished it. And for me too, usually my very first outdoor climb, I want to, sit in the harness, make sure it's working, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. Enough of this. Right. But it was really interesting how our muscle memory, or emotional anxiety of handling fear, right, in a good way was still there, if not stronger. So now when I boulder in the gym, I never worry about not going for it. I generally do. Maybe some things I'm a little bit more nervous about, but a lot less nervous. Yeah. And so I really super appreciated going back to the gym. And so we continued, and the kids are doing really well. They're at the same level of us, just a bit below. We're climbing the same level, but they can't do all of them because of their size. But yeah, climbing's so awesome.
So let's hope that reopens. Because if they do everything the way they did the first time, things reopened in waves. Yeah. Not all at once.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, if you have been a member of your climbing gym or were a member just before it closed and you're not aware, some gyms are asking, if people want to maintain their membership fees, even though they're not open. And we're doing that. We love our gym and we want to see them continue because honestly, I said that to them, I've never realized how important they are for mental health and just family activity and overall physical activity and health. And for our gym, our climbing gym, they even have like a little workout section.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we would do is twice a week go in and lift weights.
Yeah.
And twice a week go in and climb, over the last few months.
Yeah. So shout out to Core Climbing Gym in Cambridge.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. And they were even doing, when they had a maximum capacity of 10, they'd still remain open and you just book in your time. And actually it was even better because you had practically the whole gym to yourself and 9 other people.
Yeah. And if it was you, me, and the kids, we're 40% of the capacity.
So it was amazing climbing.
Yeah.
The best experience, aside, unless you want to hang out with people. And really, quite honestly, it is fun. That's a cool energy too. But given what's going on, you feel safe and you've got great climbing. Yeah.
And you don't have to wait for anything. And now we don't have to wait for anything either.
Yeah. So support your local gym.
Yeah. It's funny because like you develop an emotional connection to your climbing gym. Our regular gym we go to, I wish, we had access to it.
Yeah.
Right. Because, I like lifting weights. But it's funny just as far as the environment goes.
Yeah. Well, we're very big.
It's
a good gym though. I mean, for the membership that I was paying for with Dave.
Oh, no, I have no complaint with that.
$20
I'm just saying, like, there's no emotional connection to it.
I know, it's true.
Yeah. Just basically a big box gym. And the only reason we chose it is because it was close.
And cheap.
Yeah. But it's the closest one to our house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a fascinating thing, though, that we've run into this year is lots of walks. We actually just got back from going on a snowshoeing hike today.
2.5 hours in Hockley Valley. Lots of hills.
Yeah.
I peaked at 200 beats per minute, and I'm almost 46 years old. What does that say about me?
You have the heart rate of a hummingbird or your heart rate monitor. Because I think both of us, because we both have Garmin watches, yours seem to read really high today, and mine seem to be ridiculously low.
Yeah, but you weren't tracking, which is bullshit for the amount of money we've paid for it. But I tend to track high anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. That's pretty consistent. Like when I was tracking at 175, it was comparable to how I feel when I'm mountain biking. It was the same feeling.
Yeah, whereas 175 is redlined for me.
Yeah, but that whole idea of 220 minus your age is not accurate.
No.
Or my Garmin's not accurate.
Yeah.
We should get that professionally done at some point.
Yeah, do the fitness test.
Yeah.
With the heart rate chest strap on, because those are measuring more accurately.
But we did do some episodes about home fitness routines that really work well for us. We did one on, I think, quarantine fitness, hence COVID and all.
Yeah, and then we talked with our pal Allison, who's a physical therapist. And that revolved a lot around, movement and fitness and rehab type things.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. I mean, people are jumping into new training workout regimens
before they're ready.
Oh yeah. Like from even running, like just the basic things that are perceived to be so easy and that they can just jump into. They really need to ease into it. Otherwise they're going to cause injury.
Yeah. Like as a coach, I always referred to it as first you have to train to train. Like you can't train until you've trained to train. Like it's sort of a preparatory phase to get your body ready to actually do real work, but it dramatically reduces the risk of injuries from doing too much.
Yeah.
Right. And it is one of the and I don't think we had this in the episode, but like one of the most common things we're doing right now is every minute on the minute.
I love those workouts.
Yeah, because they hit everything.
Yeah.
So basically, you pick an exercise, just the regular push-up. So you put an interval timer on your phone, and you set a 1 minute work time and a 1 minute recovery time for the intervals. Choose 5, right? So that'll basically mean 2 of each. And then just hit go. And if you want to increase your strength, then it's basically something fairly heavy for like 2 or 3 reps every minute for 10 minutes. If you want to build muscular endurance or get your heart rate up, build muscle. Then choosing a weight that you can do like 15 reps with, but just do 10 reps of an exercise per minute. So it beeps, do 10, put the weight down, and you only get the recovery until it beeps again for the next minute.
Yeah.
Right? So you do 10 sets in 10 minutes.
Yeah, generally the way it's worked out is in that minute, 30 seconds of it is the workout.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 30 seconds you're resting. But it's kind of neat because we've really been able to challenge our bodies physically with these home workouts. You just make do, and we've used resistance bands. I bought a very heavy paperweight, 45-pound kettlebell, and I leave it out in the middle of my living room sometimes. So if I have to trip over it, then it's time to do some swings.
Yep.
As a reminder. But we also have blood flow occlusion bands that you put around your biceps
or your thighs.
And if you're working on either of those parts, it restricts the blood flow to your muscles and the oxygen. So it actually tricks your muscles into thinking that it's working harder because it's getting less oxygen. So it's a great way either for rehabilitation with, from injury. You don't have to lift you get the same training benefit using lighter weights with these blood flow occlusion bands than you would as if you were using the same weights, maybe about 80 to 90% of it.
Yeah, no, because basically you can use as little as 20% of your maximum and still get the same kind of, muscle building effect as you would using 75 or 80% of your max.
Yeah.
And that works really well for us because obviously for lower body exercises, we don't have any heavy weights.
Yeah.
Right. So it's doing a lot of one-legged things, blood flow restriction, adding bands to things, there's different ways that we're making it work.
On that note, I just want to give a shout out again to Allison Godette because she's actually my physiotherapist. So when I broke my elbow, I connected with her and we did it all virtually. Mm-hmm. And that's something to think about. If you have something that's irking you, right, that you want to get fixed during COVID, there's still some really great people out there that can help you and make a big difference. It was amazing. So it's really, actually, it's made it quite convenient. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing, your resistance bands, your TRX.
Yep. I've got gymnastics rings at my place.
Yeah. What else have we been doing?
I picked up a Mace Bell. You've never used it yet, but it's basically a steel pole with a 15-pound shot put welded on the end, and you swing it all around, kind of like
how much does it weigh?
Maybe like 16 pounds with the handle because the handle's hollow. But because imagine like taking a super heavy club and swinging it around.
Yeah.
All your core has to engage. Like when you're doing like the behind the neck or behind your head swings, really gets your shoulder mobility and gets your shoulders into it. Your whole body's involved. So it's kind of fun to go out and like swing the thing around. And because it's tough as shit, you can also, if you've got like an old tire, you can use it like a sledgehammer and pound the tire. So there's a variety of different things that you can do with it. And it's kind of one of those odd implements, kind of like a kettlebell. It takes a little bit of practice and skill to use because, if you're swinging it behind you and you whack yourself in the ass, it hurts. But, again, it's making do and still making progress. And it's the same thing for any of our rock climbers out there. You can make your own fingerboards because that's the other thing I did is I just took some strapping. Well, it wasn't even strapping. It was like basically like trim. And screwed it to a ceiling beam because I've got exposed beams in the basement. Mm-hmm. I screwed it to a ceiling beam, and it already had like a little bit of a rounded edge on it. And I had two of them. One of them was about 15 millimeters deep, and the other was 20 millimeters deep. And I just positioned them like one above the other, and I can hang from them, or I can do try to do one hand pull-ups on it.
Yeah.
and it's all stuff to strengthen your fingertips. Because what I'll do is I'll do some like max effort work, pulling as hard as I can on the small one, but with just one hand. So I'm not going to lift myself. I'm not that strong. But do these 5-second max effort pulls and alternate hands. And I'll do that a bunch of times. And then I'll, with both hands, hang from the thicker one until my forearms are completely pumped.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know if it was climbing or jiu-jitsu. That's something else we got into this year. But my right hand, the middle finger in the joint to the palm, it's like swollen. And I'm going to get that x-rayed and imaged, whatever.
Yeah, so anybody that's ever punched before properly, it's your punching knuckle.
Yeah.
And because we got into striking the pads, because again, looking for different things to do fitness-wise.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about that. That's pretty recent.
And because I already had striking pads, and I've done various martial arts, throughout my life. So it was like, okay, let's work on stuff.
Yeah.
And so teaching Catherine how to jab, and I think that it's your jab in hand, right?
It is.
Is it your right? No, it's your right.
Yeah, it's my right hand.
Oh, so no, that's not your jab.
No, I'm sorry, it's my striking hand.
Your power hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine's got a mean wallop.
Yeah, apparently.
She can hit hard, but because we didn't have any padded gloves, we were just wearing our bike gloves when she was doing it.
I just got them, but it was a nice Christmas present, and it's great to do with the kids. They love it. They love it.
Yeah.
Especially the chokehold. It's like, I've got this great photo of Hudson on your neck in the air. You're standing, and he's like
hanging off my neck. He's like
45 pounds, and he's got his body horizontal, perpendicular to you, because he's trying to choke you out. It's not working.
And I'm standing up and walking around with this kid hanging off my neck.
So we have one other friend that's in our bubble, and we do jiu-jitsu with her. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, she turned her garage into a dojo.
Yeah, pads. You just put floor mats.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
And we got the striking pads, and now we got the whole like chest rig, so they can all punch the shit out of me without breaking any ribs.
I know, but you take a lot of force beating from us because you want us to know what it's like to choke somebody out, right?
Yeah,
So that's a lot of fun, but it's interesting. You have to. It's a great sport of control and discipline as well.
Because you want to just get mad.
Well, a switch just, flips. Like you pissed me off that one time and apparently I hit your nose. Like I got really mad at you.
And just threw the elbow.
I did. I didn't even get you with the hard part of my...
No, it was the meaty tricep.
It's a good thing.
All that training.
I was mad.
Yeah.
I was not happy. I'm like, Urgh. And then her too, right? So we've decided that when we gridlock, especially her and I, it's like we want to do it like, slow down, almost like a chess game.
Yeah.
You do one move, like do the whole thing, then I do another move to learn.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't done jiu-jitsu or MMA, mixed martial arts, because that's what we're doing, is a combination of wrestling, grappling, right?
With submissions, punching and kicking.
Yeah. That it is, what did I want to say? For people who are, there's things such as tapping out, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a full body workout.
Mm-hmm. And it's great cardio because you two are just gassed all the time.
Yeah, your idea of us going at it for 3 minutes is just not, try 30 seconds.
Well, that's where, basically, I reduced it from 5-minute rounds to 3-minute, figuring, that'll give them, that's... But they're sort of at that spaz stage where 30 seconds and they're completely gassed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just do it where I just stay in the ring the whole time.
Yeah.
On the mat.
Yeah.
And just rotate.
And then you're sore the next day, your neck is sore.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Because,
I sort of let you do stuff.
Right.
It's like, no, you're not squeezing hard enough.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's really great. It's a very strategic sport, like chess. For every move, there's a counter move. And it's, women can spar with guys. It doesn't have to be all about strength. In fact, they tend to have to be more strategic and technical, smarter with their moves. But there's physics has everything to do with it. I thought that one move is really cool, where if you're pushing me and I'm pushing you, that all of a sudden I reverse my force from pushing you away to pushing you forward and out of my way. Is awesome. It's just brilliant. Yeah, just little things like that.
Yeah,
right?
It's the basics of judo, right?
Yeah.
Using somebody's force against them.
Yeah, being efficient. So, I think it's a really amazing, fun activity, especially during times when you have nothing, else you can do, or aside from being outdoors, right?
Well, and this is the thing. It's like we're talking about all the different things we've done.
Yeah.
Because it is our podcast after all. But if during this whole thing you've just made it through, you're doing good too. You know what I mean? Like for us, I think it's all of these things are what keep us sane. Right? It's finding challenges, and if we can't go do this challenge, we'll come up with a different challenge. It's I think it's a thing that we both know about ourselves, that basically is to stagnate is to go backwards.
Totally. It's I would say it's probably depression for me to not continue to grow and not be working towards something. And obviously physical activity is known to be really good for you.
Both mentally and physically.
Yeah. I changed my diet. So after I broke before I broke my elbow, I was at 189. So I had gone, like years when I first met you, I was probably 230. So I lost some weight. But then I kind of stagnated to 97, 95.
You mean 197.
95. I'm 5'6". Anyway. So anyway, yeah, I started keto. So I got to 189. Then I broke my elbow, which sucked because I was doing quite a bit of working out, and it was just really good. I was getting back into cycling, and I put on 15 pounds essentially over the course of 3-4 months. Yeah,
just because of the injury.
Yeah, I started eating carbs because before that I was still doing keto, or maybe not on the menu of my book by Leanne Vogel, by the way, keto something. And decided to go back on it. I think inflammation was really...
Yeah, and that for you, like if somebody's trying to get leaner, there's multiple pathways for that. Like, the people who like keto get super keto, the people that like paleo, the people, but fundamentally you can get lean on a variety of different diets.
Yeah.
But the big for you with the fact that you have knees that are just held together with, wishes and duct tape, you run into the thing where we're having a diet lower in carbs, and in the case of your diet, I think you're less than 5% of your calories are coming from carbs every day.
Yeah.
You've noticed it's had a big impact on inflammation.
Yeah, it has, because I know when we were biking, remember we were mountain biking in Moisega for 2 hours, my knees were like shot.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I'm like, that's bullshit. What the fuck? Like, that's riding. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's no impact.
No. And that's scary, quite honestly. That coupled with a gigantic appetite that was never satiated with what I ate. I hated that. And then I was going back to my old habits at night, snacking, eating late at night. And
bowls of cereal.
Just starting that. And that's when I just said, this is enough. So I thought, okay, let me this time follow the menu plan, so I don't have to work out the macronutrients myself. Just because you eat keto foods doesn't mean you can eat a lot of cheese, right? And it not help you out. Yeah,
because fundamentally, for anybody that is concerned with weight management, the first thing you have to pay attention to is your calories. Before you can get down into your macronutrient, ratios and everything. But if you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're not going to get leaner.
But what I've always liked about keto is that you don't have to eat a lot of food to feel full.
No, it's funny. Like
satisfied.
Like fat and protein take forever to go through you, so you're full longer.
No, I really like that a lot. And it brought back my mojo for cooking. Right? And I think I lost 10 pounds within a week.
Yeah, which
I've never ever experienced that.
That means you were doing it right.
Yeah.
Because when you take carbs out of your diet, because carbs are stored in your body with water, when you burn those carbs off and don't replace them, then a whole bunch of water goes out too. So you see this quick weight loss.
Yeah.
Initially, and you'll run into that with any kind of lower carb diet.
Right.
And then you added to that the fact that you've been very diligent. Because it's one of those things. It's one thing when people look at the scale, but like when we're working out, we basically work out in the entranceway of your place. And the lighting is directly overhead. So it's like terrible lighting to get your picture taken because you have giant, dark shadows in your eyes.
Yeah.
But it's great for showing definition in muscles.
Yeah, it's coming out.
And you're getting noticeably leaner.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. And then I did adjust the keto diet to be more for building muscle. So the pumped up fat or protein. Keto diet.
Yeah.
So more protein. 'Cause I was still hungry. I was finding myself snacking on more almonds and my weight loss was starting to stall. And then Christmas happened. I made sugar cookies with my kids. Didn't eat 10 pounds of it like I've done 1 year. Or at least gain that much.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think I gained 4 pounds. So I'm back on to it. So Christmas is over.
Yep. New Year's is over.
Yeah. So we're back into working out, which is good. And
yeah,
so,
we worked out through Boxing Week.
So goals.
Mm-hmm.
Goals. I'm excited about bike touring
Yeah.
this year. Really excited.
And bike packing. Yeah, it's something we would have gotten into maybe a little bit this year, but nobody had the gear available. It was all sold out.
Yes. So big tips. And I think a lot of people have already learned this, is that whatever you plan to do in the next season, as soon as that stock comes out, buy it.
Yeah, because it's funny because your kids were asking why we bought a trailer hitch for, like, Catherine got a new car. And the kids are like, what's a trailer hitch for? Like, we don't have a trailer. And it's like, well, we're going to put a bike rack on it. Well, it's winter. Why do we need a, but, it's like, because we don't want to have an issue being able to get it come spring. No. Like, how nothing was available this year because everything sold out everywhere.
Totally.
We have a hitch that fits.
Yeah.
So, we're still waiting to be able to get the rack.
Yeah.
But, once we get it all in place,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a 2017 Honda CR-V. And so it had 20,000 kilometers on it. So it's pretty cool. I've never bought a used car before, and it was actually quite stressful, but got it done. And 1 week before everything shut down, I bet I would have gotten a better deal.
Well, and it's funny because the only reason you really advanced to get it now, because Boxing Week, we had a trip planned.
I know.
And then we canceled that because with Ontario going into lockdown, we thought it'd be
the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, to cancel our trip.
Yeah.
Even though we were just going to an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere.
Huntsville, to go snowshoeing on a maple syrup farm.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Yep. But, we don't want to be part of the problem.
No, but when we can travel, that was something that we did a few times. Like, we would just rent Airbnbs at cool locations, right? Even though you can't go really in town or you don't want to. Mm-hmm. The locations are great to go do whatever you want to outdoors.
Yeah, because when we went, to Collingwood, we mountain biked, we did this, we did it, went rock climbing.
Yeah.
And so it's one of these things where you have different options open to you.
Yeah, Gatineau, Quebec is beautiful. Did we go there twice or just the one time, right, with the kids?
Yeah, because we went Christmas last year or Boxing Week last year.
Yeah, but we did drive through Gatineau, but this year we went in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful.
Yeah,
great climbing, nice tall, high climbs.
Yeah,
and
on granite.
Yeah, that was fun. And just somewhere new. And so I guess the point of this is just explore something that's in your backyard that you normally wouldn't. And actually this year, so we're assuming that borders are going to be closed. Okay. If not, we'll change our plans. Because generally where we go, a lot of places will allow for cancellations, especially if they're provincial parks or anywhere. You're usually pretty lucky on that, or they're usually good about that. Or we just don't go and we go to the US instead. But we're thinking potentially in October driving up to Lake Superior and bike packing.
Okay.
Maybe also Val David in Quebec. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking like 10 days, a combination of bike packing and climbing. Like, this is why we bought the Honda, right? And by the way, when I picked the Honda CR-V, it was all about cargo space.
Yep.
The salespeople must have thought I was crazy.
Yeah, because one of our things was we put the seats down and we both crawled in it and pretended we were sleeping. Does it have enough room to sleep in?
Well, yeah. It was an upgrade for me because I had a Hyundai Elantra 2010, and before that I had a 1999 Subaru Impreza Outback sport wagon.
Yeah. Catherine keeps her cars for like a decade.
I do. And so it was really funny talking to the salesperson because I'm like, okay, bring me up to 2020 because my last car, all I wanted was AC.
Yeah.
And I got power windows. I have no idea. All I want here is Bluetooth. So what else is new? What is this? Lane assist and this car will drive itself. I'm like, what the fuck? It's been pretty cool so far. It's very exciting. I feel very
backup cameras and
I know. I feel very lucky to have this car, really.
You know, and it's all-wheel drive.
I know.
It's got a bunch of stuff.
I don't even have to drive. Although I miss driving standard, but it's all-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So you know what? I mean, I would never go to Lake Superior. I mean, Lake Superior is beautiful from the photos I've seen, but it's a long-ass drive.
Yeah. But if we can't do anything else,
let's go do it.
Yeah.
And make some stops along the way. So that would be really, really cool. So bike packing. So I've got my trainer set up in my living room as well.
Yep.
I got my 2 bikes here. Actually, Winston gave me his bike stand. It's really cool. And it's got my mountain bike, but my hybrid's on a trainer. Right now it's a bit of a...
It's kind of like a ghetto Peloton.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got your bike on the trainer, and then you just look out the window.
Open up all the windows and...
Yeah, or listen to podcasts, whatever. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm listening to David Goggins, his book, Can't Hurt Me. It's really good.
Yeah, he's one of these, like, an ex-Navy SEAL, crazy fitness, motivation, fanatic training guys.
Thrives on being in the state of being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
He chases that. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to leave his potential on the table. It's a really great read when you're trying hard things. But going back to adventure and doing hard shit, we recently interviewed Frederick Schuett of
One Axe Pursuits.
One Axe Pursuits and One Axe or Extreme One Axe. One Axe.
Yeah, One Axe Extreme.
Yeah. So this episode number 45 is called Next Level Adventure: Erupting Volcanoes. And that's what he does. He rigs up lines so that people can traverse erupting volcanoes around the world. And he's taken out George, what's his last name? From The Angry Planet.
Yeah.
The former host of that.
To the pit of fire in Kazakhstan. Or no, Kyrgyzstan. One of the stands.
Yeah. And royalty from somewhere, we don't know who, wanted to be the first to go down to an erupting volcano. And we're talking like maybe about 800 to 1,200 feet in the volcano that's erupting.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool interview.
Yeah.
Chat. We'll have to reconnect with him about ice climbing because that's what he does
in the wintertime. Yeah. He makes his own ice climbing wall to teach you how to climb, like in the Elora Gorge.
It's in his backyard. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And he had some pictures up on Instagram showing the like his homemade waterfall isn't done yet, like ice wall. So he was teaching people how to climb sort of steep snow and ascend fixed lines and things like you'd use in the mountains. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things. If you want to learn how to climb mountains, like real alpine mountains, but you're here in Ontario, he's one of the few guys that actually has the setup, can teach you all the skills, even though we don't have any real mountains. Yeah,
he knows generally, what you're probably going to be getting into, and whether it be crossing glaciers or crevasses, and how to do rescues from out of them.
Yep.
So great guy to have on your team.
Yeah. And when we're sort of speaking of like adventures, obviously being sort of an authentic true self kind of thing, the episode that everybody, if you haven't listened to it, that you have to is Alex. A friend of ours basically was born female, transitioned to being a man, and it's something where for those of us who've never been through that sort of thing, right? It's like, I'm just who I am, right? Like I have no, what I see in the mirror, well, at times, could be improved upon. I don't have any issue where it doesn't feel authentic. Mm-hmm. And so his episode was really a lot of fun. there's a lot of humor in there, but for people who are wondering, because a lot of people have never met anybody that's transgendered,
Yeah.
right, and have a clue of what they go through. And I think for a lot of people, it'd be a really both eye-opening, obviously entertaining because it was very funny, and educational, right? Like, because one of the things with adventure is seeing things and experiencing things you've never experienced before, right? So this is almost like an adventure for your mind.
Yeah, it's it's a very humanitarian inside view on why it was so important to do it. Really beautiful. Actually, the one just before it was also an amazing episode. It's one of our top episodes actually for downloads. It's episode 27 with Eric
and Alyssa
on the faces of mental health.
That's when I had the epiphany where if you have like more concussions than you can count, that might have something to do with lifelong depression.
Yeah.
And
it's a thing.
I only figured that out at 49 years old.
Well, hey, you're welcome. That was a really great episode because it had 4 different perspectives on mental health and how we all experience it. And, great golden tidbits on what helps us. And this was before COVID. So we aired it twice. It's just such an important topic. And I think we didn't air it twice, but we did promote it. Especially with COVID, we wanted people to take the time.
Yeah, because we did another episode with them as well.
Yeah.
More recently. But I think it is. It's like one of the great things I think we can all take out of COVID is if one person is going through something and is having a hard time mentally, right? Whether it's a depression, anxiety, any of these things, it's easy for people to go, get your shit together, right? And so whereas with COVID, we're all going through it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like it's almost given people a free pass to be more open about their own mental health, right? Because there isn't a stigma when it's like, man, we're all dealing with this.
Yeah.
Right. Versus, during normal times, it's harder for people to go, hey, I need some help, or things aren't going so well. Because, you feel like you're the only one.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas with this, it's like, nope, it's everybody.
No, my work has been really great. And I think that there's been a great big emphasis, I'll say for the tech industry, because I've seen it, to be mindful of people's mental health and whether you realize it or not. But everybody has different needs, whether it be anxiety or as scary as it can also be, in dealing with addiction, but also in some cases, people are living with their abuser, right? And that's just escalated in bigger ways. So never, I think, has there been a time when, always being kind to people has become so important. That with relationships, that's been another big thing. Even in your own life, how people have their midlife crisis, right? What am I doing? They wake up.
Yeah.
Because now they're at home looking at their partner or their significant other, their life.
Well, because things
my
got
job, my relationships. What am I doing? Like, why? It's no longer the same that they can just coast through, right? So, it's an opportunity. For me, like I've gone through the most growth through crisis, and it wasn't because I brought it on; it's because it happened.
Yeah.
Of course, I was a part of it. It takes 2 to tango in a marriage, right? Or other circumstances. People pass away, but huge opportunity for growth. So I think that if you can lean into that, that's what I learned this year was I started mindfulness workshop in June. Been taking it every weekend, like once a week.
Yeah, I couldn't watch TV this morning because she was doing it.
We're talking about intuition and creativity. No, but it's really interesting. I that's when I learned that I value the most growth. I used to say in the past adventure and travel. It's really the growth that
But
comes
that's
out
what
of it.
it's basically. The growth is the end result
Yep.
of those vehicles.
Yeah, but it's really helped me, hone in on that, right? To then reprioritize my life. And it's a bit of, I think, what this podcast we're trying to do is help people engineer a life that's really meaningful for you.
Yeah. And
Right.
and a lot of it's just, it's not us telling you what to do, but telling you what we did.
Well,
And connecting with other people who might give you pieces, because for us, it's this ongoing journey. Right. And that's one of the most fascinating things for me is like, there is no destination. Right. It's just exploring until it's over.
yeah. Well, I think it's,
Yeah. So looking at our episodes going forward, it's going to have a lot of the same things that we've had before, talking about how-tos and all that kind of thing. But we're putting more emphasis on the journey part of it.
yeah, there's nothing more exciting than talking to somebody who's passionate about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, that's contagious, right? Everybody wants a piece of that. And so that's what really fuels who we often want to talk to next, is who they're talking. And actually a great example of this is when Winston said to me, we need to talk to this guy. He comes to my store. His name's Ron Dershner. He's a fisherman. I'm like, what? I'm like, I can't stand fishing. I'm like, I'm done with it. I've done it for many years, like, no. And it took a whole year of, it being in the background until I started following this guy on Instagram. But what made him different and why we did have a podcast with him, this guy is a comedian. He's a rapper. He's just a really funny guy, and he knows his stuff, and he just has a very different outlook and very useful outlook on fishing. Mm-hmm. So there's an example
Yeah.
of how, what he didn't matter so much as how he did it or how he conveyed it. It was just really cool.
Yeah.
Fun guy.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things. Like if there's anything anybody you think we should talk to,
go to our website, www.livewildradio.com. You'll see the contact us button.
Yeah, because that's a number of our guests have come from people listening to an episode and going, hey, you should talk to this person.
Yeah.
So that ends up being pretty cool. And we're happy for the feedback, because there's obviously, we're reaching out to people that we're aware of, but there's so many wicked stories out there.
Yeah.
That we're always, on the lookout for interesting people to talk to. And now that we figured the Zoom thing out,
Makes it so much easier.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even have to put pants on.
I know. Sometimes you don't even, put underwear on. Where's the first place you want to go when we can travel?
I want to go back to the Southwest.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to go to the Red River Gorge. I haven't taken you there yet. I want to get back to the Dax. It'd be fun to go hike a section, in the White Mountains on the Appalachian Trail.
Oh my God, that would.
Want to go climbing in Val David in Quebec. Yeah, so there's a bunch that I want to do.
Yeah.
So, vaccine, woo!
No, I know.
Any of you anti-vaxxers out there, eat a bag of dicks.
Please.
And the UK new COVID variant, I don't know, what is it, like the UK flu, or I don't know.
Is that what they're calling it?
Well, I'm just making something up. But the new variant, it can go die too.
Yeah.
Because it's one of these things, like we're all like putting our effort in and doing our part and limiting our contact and wearing masks and all these things.
Yeah.
I just want to get back to doing shit.
I know.
I know. Like it's going to be over a year at the minimum.
But listen, in the meantime, check out our website. We've got an amazing number of blogs that Winston's written on how-tos. And our YouTube channel, just search us out, livewildradio.com. Our podcasts are there. But there's some other great how-to videos that we've put out in the past as well.
Yeah.
So get yourself up to speed. Summer's coming. Winter's here. We have a bunch of from the first year intro to winter camping and backpacking. Check them out. Give us a ring or an email.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Winston.
I'm Catherine.
Live wild.
You said it wrong.
I did.
Work hard.
Play dirty.